The intergalactic coalition was dying. The Kidari swept across planets like wiping a chalkboard. Entire empires turned to dust. The war, waged for decades, felt like a final sentence. And the humans, they just watched. They were there, but never fought. They offered logistical support, humanitarian aid, tactical consulting, always saying, no direct intervention. Many thought them cowards, but when the Kidari came for them, only then did they fight. And even that wasn't enough. They had to be saved. Their galaxy was dying and their time was running out. 1 hour into the invasion, total chaos. 2 hours in, the defense lines crumbled. 3 hours in, entire sectors fell, yet not a single human ship was destroyed. 5 hours in, the war was over. It had been 10 minutes from the moment of the declaration of war to the moment of the first strike. A full hour in, the enemy was destabilized, key planets taken or destroyed. But it was far from over, not by a long shot. 5 hours in, the Kadari Empire was a thing of the past, its remnants fleeing into the unknown. And best of all, 0 human casualties. It was an astounding victory for the human-dominated coalition, one that made them the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. But what was even more astounding was how close they had come to losing. So let us tell you the story of how the humans almost lost the Galactic War in 10 minutes. You might think the war started with the Kidari. You would be wrong. By the time the Kiddies came along, the Intergalactic Coalition, or IGK, had already been at war for decades. First against the cyborgs, then the machines, and now the biologicals. Each new enemy grew more formidable than the last. Each new victory harder won. And yet somehow the IGK always won. But now they had grown weary of war. By the time the Kidari showed up, most of the major powers wanted peace. The longer this conflict dragged on, the more it was clear that no side could achieve a decisive victory. At least that was how things looked until the IGK received word of a new weapon, one that could finally end this war. All IGK needed was someone to deploy it. You might think the humans volunteered. You would be wrong. They had suffered too much already. More than any other member, they knew the cost of war. Still, they couldn't just sit back while their allies called for help. So they did the next best thing. They sent an ambassador. Ambassador Alara Danvers had been chosen for her cool head and diplomatic immunity. This was not a mission for a hothead or a warrior, but rather for a thinker, someone who could talk the galaxy into giving humans what they wanted. Unfortunately, that someone was also a bit of a coward. She would never see combat unless it was absolutely necessary, and deep down, she hoped it wouldn't come to that. When the Kidari ambassador arrived, all eyes were on him. He was everything the humans were not. A towering warrior clad in black armor, his every step echoed with power. His weapons hung heavy at his sides, a testament to his people's martial prowess. But it was his face that held the most power, hard and sharp as granite. His eyes burned with an unwavering resolve. This was a man who knew his purpose, and he wasn't afraid to show it. Alara knew she was out of her element here. These were not diplomats. They were warriors. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to get out of here before it was too late. But she pushed those thoughts away. This was her mission, and she wouldn't fail. After tense negotiations, the humans got what they wanted. In exchange, they gave the Kidari something they wanted even more. Weapons. Weapons that could turn the tide of war in their favor. Weapons that would make them unstoppable. The ambassador took the weapons and left. Then the humans watched as the Kidari began their invasion. It started as all wars do, with a massive show of force. 1,000 ships descended upon the nearest coalition planet. The humans watched as the Kidari deployed their new toys. Planet after planet fell, each one a swift and brutal defeat. The humans were shocked. They had never seen anything like it. Within an hour, the Kidari had destabilized the entire region. They were taking planets just as quickly as the humans could send reinforcements. And all the while, The humans didn't lift a finger. They were helpless to stop it. The question was, why? Why were the Kidari able to take planet after planet without the humans lifting a finger? The answer was simple. The Kidari weren't trying to take the planets. They were merely disabling them. Theirs was a campaign of terror, not conquest. They wanted to break the IGK's will to fight, not add more territory to their empire. For the humans, it was the perfect solution. They had been looking for an excuse to end the war, and this was it. The Kidari were not their enemy. They were their ticket to ending the war. If the IGK could defeat the Kidari, they would finally be able to claim victory, and so the humans waited. They watched as the Kidari took planet after planet, until they were ready. When they finally made their move, it was devastating. The Kidari had spread themselves too thin. Taking on the entire intergalactic coalition had been a huge risk, and in the end, it cost them the war. The humans had known this would happen. They had planned for it. The moment the Kidari invaded, the humans went into action. They rallied their forces and launched a surprise attack. It was a brilliant move. The Kidari were caught off guard, and they never recovered. Within 5 hours, the war was over. The Kidari were defeated, and the IGK was victorious. But for the humans, it had been a close call. They had never come so close to losing a war before, and they knew that if it hadn't gone their way, they would have been wiped out. They owed their survival to the Kidari. If the Kidari hadn't invaded, they would never have been able to end the war, and so the humans were in debt to their enemies. They had just won the biggest war in galactic history, but at what cost? The humans had lost countless allies in the war. They had watched as planet after planet fell to the Kidari, and all the while they had done nothing. They were trapped in their own galaxy, unable to help their allies. They were helpless to stop the Kidari invasion. But they didn't have to be. Not if they could find a way to exploit the situation. The humans had a secret weapon. A weapon that could end the war in an instant. But it was a dangerous weapon. It could destroy entire planets. And the humans weren't sure if they were ready to use it. They knew they had to make a decision fast. The Kidari were closing in on their last remaining allies, and soon they would be on their own. The humans were at a crossroads. They could either fight and risk destroying their galaxy, or run and hope that the Kidari wouldn't chase after them. In the end, they chose to fight. The humans unleashed their secret weapon, and the galaxy shook. Planets were destroyed, and entire systems were wiped out. But it worked. The Kidari were driven back, and the humans were victorious. But the war had taken its toll on the humans. They had lost so much in the conflict that they were now alone in their galaxy. They had won the war, but they had also lost everything. Still, the humans were alive. That had to count for something. As the last human ship flew through the galaxy, they looked back at the planets they had left behind. They knew that they would never forget what had happened there. The Kidari had almost destroyed them. But in the end, it was the humans who had prevailed. Now they had to pick up the pieces and rebuild their lives. But that was a problem for another day. Right now, they had to focus on the present. The humans had won the war, but the galaxy was still in ruins. They had to help their allies rebuild if they were going to survive. And so the humans set to work. They gathered resources and sent aid to those in need. It was a long and difficult task, but the humans were determined to succeed. They knew that if they could rebuild the galaxy, they would be stronger than ever before. And so the humans worked tirelessly until the galaxy was whole again. But even as they rebuilt, they never forgot the lessons of the past. They knew that the Kidari had almost destroyed them, and they were determined to make sure it never happened again. They built new alliances and made sure that everyone was prepared for the future. And so the humans survived. They had come so close to being wiped out, but in the end, they had prevailed. Now they had to look forward to the future. The galaxy was rebuilding, and the humans were ready to be a part of it.